Title: Alex Miller's Journey, From Humble Beginnings to Leading a Thriving Business. Alex Miller was the epitome of determination. Born and raised in a small town, he never had the silver spoon others might dream of. Instead, he had grit, ambition, and a clear vision. From the moment he started his journey, Alex knew he wanted to build something meaningful, a business that could stand the test of time and improve the lives of others. And so, his company, Miller Goods, was born. What began as a humble store in a modest neighborhood quickly gained traction. The shop was small, but it sold products that resonated with people, high-quality household goods that made everyday life a little easier. Alex had one rule that guided his business: make it simple, make it useful, make it affordable. This mantra became the foundation of his success, and before long, Miller Goods expanded. From a single store, the company blossomed into a chain with dozens of locations. Alex's dream was no longer a small-town vision, it was a nationwide reality. However, as the company grew, so did the challenges. The more stores Miller Goods opened, the harder it became for Alex to stay connected to the heart of the business. He found himself spending more time in boardrooms, negotiating deals, and analyzing numbers than actually walking the aisles of his stores, engaging with the people who made his vision come to life. Something didn't feel right. The reports were glowing, but Alex had a nagging feeling that he was losing touch with the essence of what made Miller Goods special. One morning, after another long week of meetings and numbers, Alex woke up with a clear thought: I need to see it for myself. He decided that rather than relying on second-hand information, he would visit one of his stores without any fanfare, no corporate announcements, no prior notice. He wanted to experience his business the way a regular customer would. Disguised in simple jeans and a hoodie, Alex headed to Miller Goods location number 312, located in a busy suburban area far from the corporate headquarters. As soon as he stepped inside, he was struck by the familiar scent of fresh brewed coffee from the store's cafe and the neatly organized shelves stocked with products. Yet, as he wandered through the store, something felt off. The customer service counter, typically a beacon of helpfulness, stood empty. A line of impatient customers shifted from foot to foot, growing increasingly frustrated. When Alex stepped up to the counter, he was greeted, not with a smile, but with an indifferent, "What do you want?" The young man behind the counter, named Jake, didn't apologize for the wait or offer any assistance. Instead, he seemed more preoccupied with his phone than with the people waiting for help. It was a stark contrast to the values Alex had built his business on. Shocked, Alex continued to observe, hoping this was just a one-off incident. But as he moved through the store, he met Susan, a middle-aged employee who was busy arranging merchandise. She immediately stopped, greeted Alex with a warm smile, and patiently answered all his questions. She even went the extra mile, offering helpful tips and product recommendations. Alex was impressed by her genuine care and attention to detail, a stark contrast to Jake's dismissive behavior. Intrigued, Alex struck up a conversation with Susan, who had worked at Miller Goods for over 15 years. "I love working here," she said with a smile, "but lately, it's been tough. We're understaffed, and some of the newer hires don't seem to care much about the job." She paused, her expression turning somber. "I try my best, but it's hard when there's no support." Alex felt a mix of admiration and frustration. Here was an employee who was fully invested in the company's success, yet her efforts were overshadowed by those who were disengaged. It was clear that the rapid growth of Miller Goods had created some blind spots in the organization. The policies that once helped streamline operations had now become obstacles to recognizing and rewarding dedication like Susan's. Determined to fix this, Alex returned to his headquarters, where he dug into employee feedback and reviews for location number 312. Sure enough, complaints about Jake's poor service were numerous, while Susan's exceptional work had gone largely unnoticed. Alex realized that the company's growth had created a divide between the executives' view of the business and the reality on the ground. A few days later, Alex returned to the store, but this time he came as himself. He called a meeting with the staff, revealing his undercover visit. "I started this company with a simple vision, to help people, both our customers and our employees," Alex said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I saw dedication in some of you, but I also saw behavior that doesn't reflect our values. This is a wake-up call for all of us." Turning to Susan, Alex continued, "Your hard work hasn't gone unnoticed. Starting today, you are being promoted to assistant manager. You've earned it." The room erupted into applause. Then, Alex turned to Jake, "This company is built on respect for each other and for our customers. I'm giving you the chance to prove you can do better. The choice is yours." Over the next few months, Alex implemented changes across the company. He introduced more training programs, hired additional staff, and set up an anonymous feedback system. Jake, motivated by his second chance, began to improve under Susan's mentorship, becoming a more attentive and reliable employee. Through this experience, Alex learned a valuable lesson. It wasn't just about growing a business, it was about staying connected to the heart of the business, the people who made it all possible. And with one simple visit, he was able to reset the course of Miller Goods, ensuring that its success was rooted in the values that had originally inspired its creation. Title: Undercover Visit to Store 512. Despite receiving glowing reports from his managers and a sense of pride in his company's growth, Michael Hayes, CEO of Hayes & Company, couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The numbers on paper painted a picture of success, but he knew deep down that the true story of his business went beyond spreadsheets and quarterly profits. He had worked tirelessly to create a brand that stood for integrity and customer satisfaction, but lately, he felt disconnected from the very essence of what his company represented. One morning, after another series of upbeat reports, Michael decided he couldn't ignore his instincts any longer. He needed to see things for himself, firsthand. With no fanfare or warning, Michael made the decision to visit Store 512, a location that had been flagged for some mixed reviews. He disguised himself in casual attire, jeans and a hoodie, blending in with the crowd to observe the store as an ordinary customer. Walking into the bustling store, Michael immediately noticed the disorganized shelves. The aisles, though well-stocked, lacked the careful attention to detail that he was accustomed to seeing in other locations. As he strolled past the rows of products, he could hear a group of customers growing frustrated at the customer service counter. No employees were in sight. The line of people seemed to be growing longer by the minute, with no one available to assist them. Eventually, a young man named James emerged from the back, his attention fixed on his phone. Without acknowledging the customers or offering an apology for the delay, James mumbled a lackluster greeting, barely glancing up as he asked, "What do you need?" His tone was dismissive, the complete opposite of the warmth and professionalism Michael had worked so hard to instill in his employees. As Michael waited for his turn, he observed James' interactions with the customers. A woman tried to return a broken item, only to be met with a curt, "That's against store policy," even though the return was clearly within the guidelines. Another customer asked for assistance with locating a specific item, but James merely waved in the general direction without offering any real help. Michael was stunned. This was not the service his company promised. When it was Michael's turn, he politely asked James for help in checking the price of a product. Without even looking at the item, James pointed vaguely in the direction of a price scanner and muttered, "Use that." Michael's heart sank. This was not the level of service that had made Hayes & Company successful. This was not the experience customers expected when they walked through the doors. Shaken, Michael decided to explore further. He moved through the store, observing the other employees. It wasn't long before he met Sarah, a middle-aged worker who was organizing products on the shelves. As soon as Sarah saw him, she stopped what she was doing and greeted him warmly, offering to help with any questions he had. As they chatted, Michael learned that Sarah had worked at Hayes & Company for over 12 years. She spoke with pride about the company, sharing how much she loved her job and the community the store served. Yet, her face showed signs of exhaustion. "It's been tough lately," Sarah confessed. "We're understaffed, and some of the newer hires don't seem to care as much about the work. I do what I can, but it's hard when there's no support." Michael could sense the passion in Sarah's voice, the genuine care she had for the customers and the company. He was impressed, yet disheartened that her dedication was being overshadowed by the apathy of others like James. Sarah's situation wasn't unique, he realized. The rapid expansion of Hayes & Company had created cracks in the foundation, cracks that were invisible from the top but glaringly obvious on the ground level. After returning to his office, Michael spent the next few days reviewing employee records and customer feedback for Store 512. The complaints about James were numerous, painting a picture of an employee who was disengaged and unprofessional. Meanwhile, Sarah's name repeatedly came up in positive feedback, yet her efforts were going unnoticed. Michael was left with a harsh truth: his company's success had made him blind to the struggles of his employees. Determined to address these issues, Michael returned to Store 512 a week later, this time as himself. He called a meeting with the staff, revealing that he had visited the store undercover. "I started Hayes & Company with a vision to put customers first," Michael said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "What I saw here today showed me that we've lost sight of that. I saw dedication from some of you, but also behavior that doesn't reflect our values." Turning to Sarah, Michael continued, "Your hard work hasn't gone unnoticed. Starting today, I'm promoting you to floor manager. You've earned it." The room filled with applause, and Sarah's eyes widened in surprise. She had always given her best to the company, but now she was being recognized for it. Then, Michael turned to James. "This company is built on respect, for our customers, for each other. If you're not willing to embrace that, I'm afraid this might not be the place for you. But I'm giving you the chance to prove yourself. The choice is yours." Over the following months, Michael made changes to improve the company culture at Hayes & Company. He introduced comprehensive training programs, increased staffing at busy locations, and implemented a new feedback system that allowed employees and customers to share their experiences. To his surprise, James took the opportunity to improve. Under Sarah's mentorship, he became more attentive, engaging with customers and providing the service that was expected of him. Through this undercover visit, Michael learned an invaluable lesson. It wasn't enough to just rely on numbers and reports. To truly understand the pulse of his company, he had to be connected to the ground level, to the people who made Hayes & Company what it was. And with that newfound awareness, he was able to steer his company back on course, with a renewed focus on respect, service, and people at the heart of everything. Title: Contrasting Employee Behaviors. At Clover & Company, Alex Mitchell, the store manager at the bustling downtown location, had seen his fair share of employees come and go. He prided himself on the atmosphere he created within the store, one of respect, teamwork, and, above all, service. Yet, despite his best efforts, the store's dynamic seemed to have shifted recently. The company had been expanding rapidly, and with new faces came new challenges. It was in the midst of this uncertainty that Alex found himself observing two starkly contrasting employees. One day, as Alex walked through the aisles, he overheard a conversation between two customers at the checkout counter. One woman was complaining that her item was defective, while the other was asking for help finding a specific product. What stood out to Alex was how two employees, Matt and Olivia, responded to these very different situations. Matt, a young employee who had only been with the store for a few months, was working the register. When the woman complained about the defective item, Matt's response was curt and dismissive. He didn't ask any follow-up questions, nor did he offer any solution. "It's your problem, not mine," he muttered under his breath. Alex stood just out of sight, his heart sinking as he watched Matt's lack of empathy. This was not the kind of customer service he had trained his team to provide. As the line of customers grew, Alex moved over to Olivia, who was stocking the shelves nearby. Olivia had been with Clover and Company for several years. As she noticed a customer struggling to find a specific brand of soap, she immediately approached with a smile, offering to help. She didn't just direct the customer to the right aisle, she walked with her, explaining the different options and recommending products based on the customer's needs. Olivia's thoroughness and patience spoke volumes. She wasn't just doing her job, she was creating an experience for the customer, one that made them feel valued and heard. Curious, Alex approached Olivia after she had assisted the customer. "I've been noticing how engaged you are with everyone, Olivia. How do you stay so positive and dedicated?" he asked. Olivia smiled softly, wiping her hands on her apron. "I love this job," she said. "But I won't lie, it's tough sometimes. The store's understaffed, and the new hires don't always seem to care. But I know what kind of store we should be, and I try to make that happen with every customer." It was at that moment that Alex realized the depth of Olivia's commitment to Clover and Company. She had been with the company long enough to understand its core values, but she had also seen how the recent growth had brought about a shift in priorities. The stress of understaffing and the frustration of working alongside disengaged employees were taking their toll, yet Olivia kept pushing forward, giving her best every day. She was the embodiment of the values Alex had strived to instill in his employees. Meanwhile, Matt's behavior was a stark contrast. His interactions with customers lacked the warmth, attentiveness, and care that Alex knew his team was capable of. It wasn't just a bad day or a fluke, Matt's behavior seemed to be a reflection of his attitude toward the job itself. He didn't seem to value the company's mission, and it showed in the way he interacted with customers and coworkers alike. After observing the difference in their behavior, Alex made a mental note to address the situation. Olivia's work ethic and passion deserved recognition, while Matt's apathy needed to be addressed before it spread any further. The challenges of rapid growth had brought about new issues, but Alex knew the answer wasn't just in hiring more staff or updating policies, it was about cultivating a culture of respect, dedication, and genuine customer care. A few days later, Alex called a staff meeting to address what he had witnessed. "At Clover and Company, we've built our reputation on putting the customer first," he said, standing in front of the team. "I've seen some of you give your all, just like Olivia, who shows up every day with a smile and a commitment to our values. But I've also seen behavior, like Matt's, that falls short of what we expect. This isn't just about doing a job, it's about creating an experience that reflects who we are as a company." Turning to Olivia, Alex smiled. "Your dedication hasn't gone unnoticed. You've been an invaluable part of this team, and it's time we recognize that. I'm promoting you to team leader, effective immediately." The room filled with applause, and Olivia beamed with gratitude. But Alex's attention quickly shifted to Matt. "Matt, I'm giving you a chance to improve. We're all capable of growth, but it starts with a change in attitude. If you're willing to commit to the company's values and improve your interactions with our customers, we'll be here to support you. But it's up to you." Over the next few months, the store saw a shift in energy. Olivia embraced her new role, working closely with Matt to help him improve. She shared her knowledge, mentored him on customer service, and helped him develop a more positive approach to his work. Slowly, Matt began to change. He became more engaged with customers and started showing more initiative. Through this experience, Alex learned an important lesson: no matter how large a company grows, the heart of that company lies in the people who make it thrive. It's about fostering a culture where dedication and empathy are valued, where employees are empowered to give their best. Alex knew that if he wanted Clover and Company to continue to grow and succeed, he had to focus on the core values that had helped it get to where it was, values like respect, teamwork, and a genuine care for the customers who walked through the doors every day. Title: Discovering Issues at Headquarters. After his eye-opening undercover visit, Michael Turner couldn't shake the troubling realization that his company, Turner's Emporium, was facing deeper issues than he had initially thought. What he had witnessed in store number 512, though concerning, was only a glimpse of a much larger problem. The rapid expansion of his business had led to a widening gap between the headquarters operations and the everyday realities of his employees on the ground. Determined to get to the bottom of things, Michael returned to the office, where he began sifting through employee records and customer feedback. As he pored over the data, one name repeatedly surfaced: James, the disengaged employee he had observed during his visit to store number 512. The complaints were many: rude behavior, dismissive attitudes, and an overall lack of professionalism. But what stood out to Michael wasn't just the frequency of the complaints, it was the fact that James had been given repeated opportunities to improve with little to no consequence. The company's internal systems had allowed for these issues to go unnoticed, buried beneath layers of reports and automated systems that failed to capture the reality of the store floor. But James wasn't the only one who had slipped through the cracks. Michael also noticed the name of another employee, Sarah, a longtime worker at the same store who had shown exceptional dedication in her role. In contrast to James, Sarah's feedback was overwhelmingly positive. She was praised for her attention to detail, her commitment to the company's values, and the exceptional customer service she provided. Yet, despite her consistent performance, Sarah's name had been absent from any conversation about promotions or further opportunities. The reason? Budget constraints. It became painfully clear to Michael that while his company had thrived in terms of revenue and expansion, it had failed to recognize and reward the employees who were the true backbone of its success. The rapid growth, once celebrated as a sign of Turner's Emporium's success, had created blind spots in the company's management and policies. There was no system in place to properly assess employee potential, and as a result, hardworking individuals like Sarah had been overlooked while underperformers like James had been allowed to remain without any real accountability. Sitting in his office, Michael reflected on how these issues had gone unnoticed for so long. It wasn't just about the numbers, about the growth or the profits, it was about the people who made the company what it was. He had become so focused on scaling the business, on reaching the next milestone, that he had neglected the most important aspect: the heart of the company, the employees who interacted with customers every day, who embodied the values Turner's Emporium was built on. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. He had allowed policies designed to streamline the business to inadvertently diminish the very culture that had fueled its success. He had been blinded by the allure of growth, thinking that numbers and new stores equaled success, when in reality, it was the dedication of employees like Sarah that had made his company special in the first place. Determined to make things right, Michael took immediate action. He started by scheduling a series of one-on-one meetings with store managers and employees from all levels of the company. He wanted to hear their stories, their struggles, and their ideas for improving the company culture. Through these conversations, Michael began to realize just how much the company had grown out of touch with its roots. He heard about employees working long hours without proper support, about customers being let down by undertrained staff, and about the rising frustration that came with being overlooked for promotions despite years of hard work. But it wasn't all negative. Through these conversations, Michael also discovered a sense of loyalty, dedication, and pride in his employees that filled him with hope. Many of them still believed in the mission of Turner's Emporium, and they were eager to see the company thrive again, just in a way that valued them as much as the customers they served. With this newfound understanding, Michael knew he had to make significant changes. He couldn't just focus on profits and expansion anymore, he had to refocus on the people who had helped get him to where he was. He initiated a company-wide review of policies and practices, especially those related to employee evaluations and promotions. He established clearer pathways for growth, ensuring that dedicated employees like Sarah would have the opportunities they deserved. He also implemented a more hands-on approach to management, ensuring that the voices of those working in the stores were heard at every level of the company. The transformation didn't happen overnight, but Michael's commitment to change was evident. Within a few months, employees noticed the difference. Sarah was promoted to a higher position, and James, who had been given the chance to improve, began showing signs of growth and accountability. The company culture slowly began to shift, moving from one that was focused solely on expansion to one that valued every individual who contributed to its success. Through this experience, Michael learned a valuable lesson, that real growth, sustainable, meaningful growth, comes not from rapid expansion or rising profits, but from staying connected to the people who make everything possible. Turner's Emporium could continue to grow, but only if it remembered that its true success lay in the hearts of its employees. And that was the change he was determined to cultivate from that day forward. Title: Changes and Employee Recognition. After Michael Turner's undercover visit to his store, he knew things had to change. His heart weighed heavy as he reflected on what he had seen: employees who didn't care, customers left waiting, and a lack of respect for the very values he had worked so hard to build. But among the frustration, he also saw something beautiful: a dedication from some employees, a spark of passion that could still be nurtured. And that's where the change would begin. A week after his undercover visit, Michael returned to store 512, but this time, he came as himself. He entered through the front doors, the same familiar bells chiming above him, but today he wasn't just a customer, he was a leader, ready to make a difference. As he walked past the aisles, he noticed the shift in the atmosphere. The shelves were stocked, the floors were clean, but the energy in the store seemed strained. He had work to do. Gathering the employees for a quick meeting, Michael stood before them with a mixture of determination and humility. The store manager, Sarah, had been with the company for years, and he knew her dedication had gone unnoticed for far too long. Sarah had been the glue holding the store together, consistently going above and beyond to provide excellent service. Michael couldn't let that pass by any longer. "Sarah," he began, his voice clear and steady, "I've been watching how hard you've worked for this company. You've shown loyalty, care, and an unwavering commitment to our values. For that, I'm promoting you to store manager today." The room fell silent for a moment before the employees erupted into applause. Sarah's eyes widened with surprise, and she fought to hold back tears. Her dedication had finally been recognized, and it was a moment she'd never forget. But the meeting wasn't just about praise, it was about improvement. Michael turned to another employee, Jake, who had been the one causing problems. Jake's behavior had been unprofessional, unmotivated, and disrespectful, and it was clear that if Turner's Emporium was going to thrive, he had to change. But Michael wasn't ready to give up on Jake just yet. "Jake," Michael said, his tone firm but compassionate, "you've made some poor choices, but I believe in second chances. This company is built on respect for each other and for our customers. I'm giving you the opportunity to change. You can learn from Sarah and become the kind of employee we need, but it's up to you." Jake, his face flush with a mixture of embarrassment and relief, nodded. Michael could see the weight of the moment settle on him. Jake had been given a choice, a chance to redeem himself, and now it was up to him to take the opportunity. Over the next few months, the store began to transform. Under Sarah's leadership, the team found a renewed sense of purpose. She worked tirelessly to build a cohesive, motivated team, always leading by example. Her ability to connect with her coworkers and customers created a positive atmosphere that rippled throughout the store. Sarah became a beacon of what it meant to be committed to the company's core values: care, respect, and excellence. Jake, though initially hesitant, started to rise to the challenge. He took Sarah's mentorship to heart, asking questions, learning how to engage better with customers, and paying attention to the small details that made a big difference. Slowly but surely, his attitude began to shift. He began to smile at customers, ask if they needed assistance, and, most importantly, treat them with respect. Michael, for his part, continued to monitor the changes. He visited the store regularly, sitting down with Sarah and the team to gather feedback and make sure the improvements were sticking. He also took the time to check in with Jake, offering encouragement and guidance. It wasn't always easy, old habits die hard, but Michael was determined to show his employees that their hard work, their dedication, and their willingness to improve would never go unnoticed. As the months passed, the store's atmosphere shifted dramatically. Customers noticed the difference, leaving positive reviews and sharing their experiences with others. Sarah's leadership had inspired the entire team to embrace the company's values, and Jake's transformation showed everyone that change was possible, no matter how deep the flaws ran. The story of Store 512 became an example for the entire company. Michael realized that the true power of his business didn't lie in its size or its profits, it lay in the people who made it all happen. The culture he had built needed to be protected, nurtured, and celebrated. Employee recognition wasn't just a pat on the back, it was the key to creating a thriving, successful company. In the end, Michael's commitment to change, to giving employees a chance to grow, and to recognizing their worth made all the difference. It wasn't just about profits anymore. It was about people. And that, Michael realized, was what would lead Turner's Emporium to even greater success. Title: Company-wide Reforms. After his eye-opening experience at Store 512, Michael Turner knew that it was time to make some serious changes at Turner's Emporium. He had seen firsthand the cracks that had begun to appear in his company's foundation: employees who lacked motivation, customers who weren't getting the level of service they deserved, and a company culture that had become too distant from the heart of what Turner's Emporium stood for. The issues were systemic, and the only way to fix them was to implement company-wide reforms. Michael started by creating new training programs that emphasized the company's core values: respect, care, and customer satisfaction. The training wasn't just about learning product details or how to operate the cash register, it was about cultivating a culture of excellence. He wanted his employees to understand that their role wasn't just transactional, it was about creating experiences for customers, building relationships, and fostering trust. This new training program would be mandatory for all employees, from the newest hires to the longtime staff, ensuring that everyone was aligned with the company's vision. In addition to the training, Michael recognized the need for better staffing levels. Many of his stores had been understaffed for months, and it had created unnecessary stress for employees who were already working hard to meet customer needs. In some locations, employees were juggling multiple responsibilities and struggling to keep up with the demands. Michael made the decision to increase staffing across the board, ensuring that each store had enough people to provide the level of service customers had come to expect. This wasn't just about numbers, it was about showing his employees that their well-being mattered just as much as the bottom line. One of the most important changes Michael introduced was an anonymous feedback system. He wanted to create an open line of communication between headquarters and the employees in the stores, one that wouldn't be hindered by fear of retaliation. Employees needed to feel safe sharing their thoughts and concerns, whether it was about management, customer interactions, or the company's policies. The anonymous feedback system gave employees a voice and a chance to be heard, and Michael made it clear that their input would shape the future of Turner's Emporium. As the reforms were put into place, one of the most significant transformations came from a surprising source: Jake, the employee who had once struggled with motivation and customer service. Under the mentorship of Sarah, the newly promoted store manager, Jake began to show real improvement. Sarah had always been dedicated to the company's values, and now, as a leader, she was able to pass on that knowledge to others. She took Jake under her wing, guiding him through the customer interactions, helping him develop a deeper understanding of what it meant to truly serve customers. Jake, who had once been dismissive and disengaged, slowly started to change. He began to smile at customers, offer genuine assistance, and take responsibility for his work. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but with Sarah's guidance and the new training programs in place, Jake grew more confident and committed to the company's mission. The results were clear: customer satisfaction improved, and employees, including Jake, felt more connected to their work. Through these changes, Michael realized the importance of staying connected to the people behind his business. It wasn't just about the numbers or the rapid expansion. Turner's Emporium's true strength lay in its employees. By listening to them, investing in their growth, and fostering a culture of respect and open communication, Michael had begun to rebuild what had been lost in the rush to grow. The reforms were only the beginning, but already the impact was clear. As Turner's Emporium moved forward, Michael knew that the success of his business wouldn't just be measured by how many stores they opened or how much revenue they generated. It would be measured by the happiness and dedication of the employees who made it all possible. And as long as he stayed connected to the people who truly powered his business, Turner's Emporium would continue to grow and thrive. What do you think of Michael's reforms? Have you ever experienced a workplace transformation that made a real difference? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay updated with more stories about leadership, growth, and the power of people in business.